Look at a classic 1950s Mickey Mouse short, and you'll immediately notice the kinetic, fluid energy on the screen. Pay close attention to how Mickey moves through his environment. The world around him feels remarkably deep, giving off a genuine sense of three dimensions as he travels across the landscape. The screen you see is perfectly flat, and the character on it never actually moves forward. If Mickey remains stationary, how did early animators create such a convincing illusion of forward spatial movement? The feeling of depth in classic animation is a highly engineered optical illusion, carefully designed to trick human perception. To see the mechanics of this illusion, we have to step inside a 1950s animation studio. It took massive ceiling-height camera rigs and teams of technicians to capture a few seconds of footage. The core of the process relied on a specific medium. Every single frame of a character was meticulously inked and painted by hand onto clear sheets of celluloid, commonly known as cells. That material transparency is critical. It allowed animators to stack multiple separate planes of artwork right on top of one another. Traditional opaque paper would visually block any scenery placed behind the character. By utilizing clear cells, the studio permanently decoupled the character from their work. The foreground and the background could be manipulated completely independently of each other. This separation enables a technique known as the panorama effect. First, the skilled animator draws the character's physical movement as a continuous loop, so they appear to be walking in place. Then, the setup is arranged under the camera lens. You have a long, continuous background layer placed flat on the bottom, with the transparent character cell resting entirely separate on top. To simulate forward travel, the camera operator does the opposite of what you might expect. Instead of moving the character forward, they physically pull the background layer backward. This requires extreme precision. The operator moves the background in tiny increments, stopping to shift it by a specific fraction of an inch for every single shot. Every time that background shifts, the crew swaps out the top layer, placing a brand new, sequentially drawn character cell into the frame. Once everything is perfectly aligned, the overhead camera fires. Photographing one cell layered over one slightly shifted background creates a single frame of motion picture. The mathematical measurement of those background shifts creates the final illusion of speed and travel. When you multiply that painstakingly slow process, you get thousands of isolated photographs, accumulating sequentially. The physical result of this repetition is a continuous, tightly wound roll of motion picture film. Run that strip of film through a projector at standard speed, and the human eye can no longer perceive the stuttering, fractional movements of the background. The isolated layers and jerky stops disappear, blending into the moving world that Mickey Mouse explores. The artists of the 1950s used clear layers and precise mathematics to hack our perception, turning perfectly flat illustrations into a vibrant, three-dimensional reality.